Hey, I'm Tanya H. Franklin, and welcome to Tricks My Dog Taught Me, a podcast for lighthearted and occasional deep conversations with family and friends, revolving around my journey as a dog mom to my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle, which actually prompted me to self-publish my first book. Get ready. Shit my dog taught me. And I share some of my insights through poetry and weekly life lessons. So today's episode, I invited a good friend, Stephanie Webb, a person I met through I Love Kickboxing. And then we did our first Spartan race together, her and a few others. And we even shared the same trainer on our fitness journey. So we've seen each other get super sweaty and have many gains. So not just physically, but I think mentally too, emotionally, socially. I'm definitely glad that I got an opportunity to meet you at kickboxing, that we've remained close. So Stephanie, I really appreciate you agreeing to be my guest today. And though we both moved on from kickboxing and working with the same personal trainer, like I said, I'm so happy that we've stayed in touch. And I, you know, simply had to have a guest like you to have a one-to-one conversation with for week six's poem. That's a tongue twister, week six's poem in my book. And the name of the poem, and this is probably the last time I'm going to say it. Oh, shit. That's the name of the poem. So, which just so happens to be actually the last poem in this specific section of my book. And I'm sure that we've both uttered those words either out loud or, in my case, in our heads or in some variation of those words while doing a hit warm up at kickboxing. I know. Or
Definitely, yeah.
whatever felt like never-ending jumping jacks, squats, or burpees when we were doing group training sessions together. So, plus
Exactly.
yes, and I know you have a dog, Lexi, who I'm
Mhm.
sure, she's super sweet. I remember Quinn and I got an opportunity to meet her, and she's so friendly.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I'm sure she's probably occasionally had you saying, "Oh, ish." So to
My
start
dear,
us
yeah.
off, yes, I want to just share the poem just for a basis of our conversation so that the listeners have some context and can share their thoughts online too, possibly. So the poem is: ever go about your way, just minding your business. Can't help but say, am I the only witness? Something that wasn't noticed, usually at first glance. Something has your focus, can't help but look askance. It's hard to simply rely on your gut feeling when the environment may belie something else in which you're dealing. The moment sneaks up when you realize it. All you can say between the sigh is, oh shit. So, I
Mhm.
think it's fair to say that we all have had these oh-ish moments. I want to know for you, what's a moment in your life where you had one of these moments and how'd you go about handling it?
Ooh, wow. I can think of so many times I've said the "oh-ish" moments. I guess I can probably look at I guess I can look at my current situation right now as probably the best, probably the most easy example to chime in from. Just randomly walking out of a building and just falling, landing on my right leg. And, yeah, it was painful. And yeah, like it took me some effort to get in my house. I'm thinking like, oh, I just sprained an ankle. And then a week later I found out I actually broke my ankle and two other places in my leg. So that was like when the doctor told me and he showed me x-ray, and I didn't say the oh ish. I said,
Mm,
oh shit. Like,
mm-hmm,
I didn't
mm-hmm,
realize it was that bad. Yeah, so that was definitely, that was definitely my current oh shit moment.
mm-hmm. How'd you
Yeah.
handle it? Like, of course, in the moment of thinking, "Oh, it's not what I think it is," but once you came to that realization and a doctor informed you, how did you handle it? Because I think sometimes how we handle something initially, of course, it may change over time and progress into something else.
I think for me, my first reaction was just shocked. Um, uh, and I would say the second reaction, I think the way I kind of think of with every situation I've kind of been in where I'm kind of like thrust in a moment where I have to do like something just unexpected happens. My first thought is, okay, is I just start planning. What am I gonna do here? What am I gonna do here? What am I gonna do here? What am I gonna call this? My mind just started going into overdrive and automatically thinking about, okay, so what's my next step? What am I gonna do? Um, how am I tell my kids? How am I gonna handle my work situation? So for me, it's an automatic overdrive as to, okay, planning, for me, because that's probably for me the easiest way to kind of cope,
Mhm.
to just deal with the shock of it. Um, you know, to kind of just say, okay, I guess to kind of have control. Because at that moment, you kind of just lose control. It's like, wow, okay. So I need to gain that control back. And the only way I can gain that control back is if I start planning. So
I'm right there
that's
with
probably
you. Yes, yes.
yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
I definitely have had moments like that as well. And I think and it's interesting to me, like how you said initially you thought, oh, I just sprained my ankle. That actually happened with me with my wrist, actually in two separate instances. One, I was riding my bike, of all places, from the gym. This was a while ago, like
Mhm.
even before I got married. And it was like something on America's Funniest Home Videos. In my head, I'm like, wow, it's been a long time since I've fallen off my bike. And it was as though the universe said, well, we're going to let that happen right now. And the chain pops off and
Oh.
the back wheel goes forward. And so I like go hand first
Mhm.
over the bike, and it basically throws me off, and I landed on my hands, the palms of my hands. And I was shaken up initially, and I got up, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh," and I'm like, "I'm gonna have to,
Mhm.
wheel my," because I couldn't get the chain on, and I'm like, "I guess I'm not too
Mhm.
far from," I lived in an apartment at the time. I'm like, "Not too far. I'll try and just take my bike home." And so then I just felt like I was like, "I don't feel right," and I said, "Maybe I just need something for the
Mhm.
pain." And so I stopped by the Rite Aid, like, on my way home, and then I'll never forget, the pharmacist says, "Do you think maybe you need to go to an emergency room?" I'm like, "Oh, I just figure I'll take some."
Yep.
So
Mhm.
and so then I couldn't get, what was it? I couldn't take my shirt off, like, 'cause I was all sweaty and dirty from falling.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
managed to get the bike in the apartment, but I was like, "I'm not gonna drag it up the steps," 'cause I just couldn't bring it up the steps. And,
Mhm.
uh, and I'm telling my mom, I said, "I can't get my shirt off. My arm
Mhm.
won't, let me." And so she
Mhm.
says, "Do you think you could have broken your arm?" And I said, "Well, no, I
Mhm.
fell on my hands." And so then she
Mhm.
says, "I think you ought to go to the emergency room. Don't you know I fractured my elbow?" Even though I didn't hit my elbow.
Mm.
It's funny how the body works.
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
the
Yep.
impact and
Yep.
and so then at
Exactly.
that point, I just like, "Oh, no." And so at the time, Sean
Mhm.
was living in Virginia, and we were supposed to be meeting up in Florida, so that we could go to like Universal Studios and all this stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh no." And so in that moment, I just thought to myself, "Oh, this isn't going to be." And but I will say that I
Mhm.
just was like, "I can't believe this happened. I'm trying to do so," and I think
Mhm.
that's the tricky part when you're like,
Yep.
"I'm trying to do something good, and why did this happen?"
Right.
So yeah,
Like, exactly.
yeah,
The way you explained it is kinda like how the way it happened because you just don't think I guess because when you're just doing something that you just naturally do on a
yes.
basis, whether it's riding a bike or
Mhm.
just walking, you don't think
Mhm.
that something as tricky as that could possibly happen just
Mhm.
from walking. Like, for me, it
Yeah.
was just my foot just my foot just like my one leg just went the wrong way, and I just remember
Mm.
falling. And I guess I was trying to brace the fall, so I end up my right leg just got caught up underneath me, and um and then, I felt pain, but I'm thinking like, oh, I just twisted my ankle and it's the same way. And then I tried to walk on it. I was like, whoa, I can't walk on it. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, that's natural. Um,
Yeah.
was able to finagle myself with assistance to get home, in an Uber, came home, absolutely could not walk at all. So thank God for the Uber driver. Between
Mm.
them and my neighbors, they assisted me in my house. Then I was stuck downstairs, and then my boyfriend came in and he helped me upstairs. I literally crawled up the stairs, crawled to my bathroom, and was in my bed, and I remained in my bed like that. You waited a day. I waited a week and a half. I waited a
Mm.
whole week and a half. And I remember my boyfriend was trying to do something. I think he was trying to put a sleeve on my ankle. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute now. This doesn't feel
Mm.
right.
Yeah.
And it was a week later. So I called my uncle up. He took me to the hospital. And like, I had a suspicion, but when it was confirmed in that X-ray and I saw the X-ray, and it's just like you're thinking, "Oh, I got how can you break an ankle?" Like, he
Mhm.
didn't even just show me an ankle that was broken, he showed me my tibia and fibula. So my whole
Mm.
lower leg was jacked up. And when I
Mm.
saw the X-ray, I was shocked because I was like, "All that? All that damage from me just slipping and falling?" And
Mhm.
it's just like you said, like you talked about your elbow. Well, it's not your hand. You think your whole elbow, like your whole, like wow, like
Yeah.
it's so weird. It's just so
Mhm.
weird. Like, and I think that's where the other ish part comes at, is the fact that as something is the amount of damage. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
amount as
Yeah.
to how much you hurt yourself and don't even
Mhm.
realize it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, you're thinking that is painful, but you think, "Well, it should be more painful." I don't know, like,
Yes.
it's like, even
I
when I
guess
think
we're
about it
just
now, I'm like
super
it's
we're
like,
super
exactly, like, I guess we are, like, superwomen in kinda like in a weird way, because maybe part of it was, like, because we, like, work out and exercise like that,
Yeah.
and I've had sprained ankles, bones, whatever, and, you get up, ice it, get up and recover, and you just go back to doing what you're doing.
Yes, yes. I know that
It's it's
happened with
it's
me
it's
with my
it's
wrist too.
yeah.
And this was after like Quinn was just a year old, and I will say that makes me think about another question I'm going to ask right after this is like, okay, it's on professional development, so I'm actually going in on a day that I usually don't go in. Go in a building that I usually don't go in, so I feel like it was the stars aligned for this injury to happen, and so
Mm,
it was
yes.
icing, like, so not
Mhm.
snowing, but icing, and so I
Right,
come in the
yes.
building, I slip, and I had on boots and everything, like winter boots.
Mhm,
I slipped and
mhm,
fell backwards, and I was
mhm.
I will say I was a little concerned, but I will say the administrative assistant was more concerned because I hit my head, and she said, "I think you ought to get checked out just in case you have a concussion," and because I was
Right,
dazed a little bit, but I fell
right.
backwards on my hand, but it was the other hand though because I fractured my left elbow, but I went to the emergency room and they told me I sprained my wrist and that my head was fine.
Mm,
And so a month goes by and I'm at my niece's recital and I'm clapping and I'm like this. And my mom's like, "Why are you clapping like that?" And I said, "Well, my hand
mhm,
hurts when I clap regular." And she says, "I don't think that's
mhm,
a sprain. If it's a month later," she says, "I think you broke your
mm,
wrist." And so she always is like
mhm,
the one with the wisdom. And I said, "Okay." And so she says they probably
mhm,
couldn't detect it. It's probably a break where they have to do an MRI or something. And I'm like, okay. And so they do an MRI. Lo and behold, I broke this part of my wrist that can't be fixed naturally. And they had to put a pin in it and all this stuff. And I just was like, ah! So, but at the same time, I just, because I don't know, it makes me think about like this question I want to ask you about. Do you ruminate like when these things happen? Do you play the blame game? Like whether it's towards other people or towards yourself, because I will say that for there were a few moments when, I mean, I'm laughing a little bit about it now, but at the time I just was like, why did I go in that way? I shouldn't have went in that way. I
Mhm.
should have did what I
Yeah,
normally do, and that
yeah,
wouldn't have happened. Why
yeah,
did I ride my
yeah,
bike? Why did I have to
exactly.
try to be, hey, I'm going to do as much exercise as possible? If I would have
Mhm,
just drove my
mhm,
car, that wouldn't happen. And
mhm.
so I will say
Yes,
I'm guilty
yes,
of
yes.
ruminating, but I'm not sure if you are.
Mhm. I am. Like, I do it a lot, and I did it in that instance too. But it's weird because for me, it was just, it was just walking. Like, and I guess the only part I go over in my mind was like thinking like, well, maybe I should have just like stopped worrying about the fact of how embarrassing it was just to take the
Mm,
spill and trying to brace the fall than just accepting the fall and just like and not done as much damage. I guess that's where my mind goes. Like you both like you replay something in your head, and I think for me it's just that the way in which it happened. You know what I mean? Like because naturally you don't want to fall. And like I was in the middle of a public street, people were walking around. It was like early in the morning. So obviously, people were going to work and stuff like that. And I was it was already embarrassing to fall, but to fall and to just, and just look stupid, is, it is natural, but that's the first thing I was so worried about. So I think
mm,
that's where my mind went to. Um, because I can't change how I walk, you know? Um, and, you know, um, that's really the only thing that I can think of in my mind is if I had done maybe not taking the steps, maybe just not rushing to, because I was trying to get to an Uber, maybe not rush to get to an Uber. Maybe I could just let the Uber pass and just wait for another one. So in that
mm,
sense, yeah, I replayed in my head over and over again as to
mhm.
what I could have did differently. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, and just so you
yeah.
know, you're not the only one that I was grateful that it was
Mhm.
faculty professional development and not a regular day where students were there because that was one of
Mhm.
the first things I thought about as I was falling was, oh my gosh, what
Mhm.
if there were all these students? And yes, they're grown, but they're young adults, and so I just was like, they're going to be
Right.
laughing, and but immediately, like someone came. I guess
Right.
there was like a student who was there trying to get some work done because they can still come in the building, and they immediately came up. Are you okay? Are you all right? And it
Mhm,
was one
mhm,
of those
mhm.
things where you try to get up, but your body's not ready for it yet because you're dazed, and so I
Mhm.
slipped
Yep,
back down, and
exactly,
he's like,
exactly. Yep, I did
just
the
stay
same
right
thing.
here, and I'm like,
Yep,
so
the
yes,
exact same thing.
definitely.
And my biggest fear, and I guess my where you talk about the fact that the building was empty, my thing was that mine's happened at around between maybe like 7:30. I would say 7:30 in the morning. So
Mhm.
really, like where I was at, there really wasn't a lot of people out where more people could have saw me, and where it happened at was kind of like what was kind of like an obscure location downtown where there were still people walking past, but like not to the point where like I was in the middle of like Market Street, you know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
it was down Chestnut Street, you know what I mean? So in that sense, that might have saved me, and especially in a time when there's social media and people always like to pull out cameras and things like that. Like I'm always afraid that somebody's going to catch me on camera and take
Mm.
pictures. Like that's just another thing that floats around in my head a lot more now because people the automatic instinct is just to film you and just post stuff.
Mhm.
So it's like that's another thing I'm always off just really mindful of. And so
That's
that
funny
can
that you
definitely raise
say
that.
that. I mean, and I don't think funny is the proper word, but you have always struck me as a person who's like, "I don't care if you filming me," and, like, so, um
And in certain instances, I don't care. Like if I'm not having fun with my friends and stuff like that, yeah, that's different. But in an instance where you don't know how you look,
Yeah.
like oh my god, I look that terrible. Like it's early in the morning. It's like like I had my work clothes on and I'm like, I'm not looking cute. I'm looking a mess. I'm like, I'm not prepared. So it's like, and like certain things, like when it gets go on camera, it's not a cute look. It's just your face
Mhm.
is all distorted, like it sounds weird. I always think of Beyonce.
Yeah.
Somehow it doesn't matter what Beyonce is doing, her face. it's like she's always camera ready. Like
Mhm.
she could be pissed and she'll look beautiful. She can, like, I remember watching her fall off the stage and she still looked pretty in the face. Like, I just always think of Beyonce because it's always like her face is always camera ready. Me, I could be like looking like, you know, like goofy. So that's just me.
I feel that way too. So and we kind of already talked about this a little bit, like, you're just minding your own business, living life, and something happens, and, you're trying to
Mhm.
figure out why it happened. So
Right.
when you're trying to figure
Mhm.
out the why, do you try to, and you talked a little about this a little bit already, do you try to think about what you can change, and whether it's this instance or, something else that's happened, or, what you can't change, because I think that's something that we have to think about as well. Sometimes it's a situation where perhaps there was something that you could have changed about it, but then sometimes you can't. It just is the way
Right.
that it was supposed to be. Like, do you have anything where you were like, okay, that's just the way it was supposed to be?
Um, I think in this particular instance was a little bit different because this was, I think there's just some things you just have no control over.
Mhm.
Like when it comes to like your health, you can't really control your health. You really can't. For as careful as we all try to be and we can all do the right thing, whether you're, you could be working out and you can just do something as normal as a jumping jack and just, dislocate your knee. Things happen. So I think for me, I I think regardless of how unorthodox the situation is that has happened to me or unexpected, I think for me, I always try to look at where, not so much where I can learn from it. Okay, what I can do in the situation to probably like, okay, um, do things differently, like when I go back out again. I think in this particular instance, I think there's really nothing I could have done differently. I think the only thing that I'm thinking about, that I started thinking about more, was I started thinking more about just, um, okay, so now I'm being told I'm going to be on my off my leg now for any prolonged period of time. Now I have to think about, okay, so I could take this moment and like think about what my next step is. Um, Prior before all this happening, I was really active. I worked 2 jobs. I exercise. I had friends, relationship, everything. I was constantly busy. The only time I would sit down and just not do anything was when I just got off work and I'm tired and exhausted and I would just pass out from just the sheer exhaustion. Now I'm in a situation where I'm forced to be not just be home, but to be still.
Mhm.
That's totally different for me. I'm not used to being still. I'm very active, whether it's going out here, going to work, or just doing things I enjoy doing, or doing things that I have to do, or I'm not used to being still. And being forced to being still is something that is something new for me. I
Mhm.
don't remember being in this position. I think the closest thing came to it was when I had to be on bed rest when I was pregnant with my son. But even in that sense, I was still out and about doing things. But this is probably like the first time I'm forced to just, you can't do anything. Can't walk on your leg, can't do anything. So it's like, you know, it's like, wow, okay, I'm really, I'm really just forced to just sit here, you know. Otherwise, if I don't, it deters my healing. So
Mhm.
that's something that I've had to learn. And during that time period, yeah, you think a lot. And then I've had people told me that, well, maybe this was like God's way of telling you to slow down,
Mm.
to stop, because like I was on this pace for over a year, working 2 jobs, working 5, 6 days a week, overnight shifts with limited sleep, and still trying to get things done and still trying to take care of my house. And like somebody literally told me, in fact, several people told me this was probably God's way of just intervening and telling you to just stop and just be still.
Mhm.
And I guess that's probably like the way I'm probably thinking. I think not even probably. I'm thinking about it in that sense now. You know.
And I
So
think that's a good way to
um,
look at it too, I mean, and I think that even like a lot of psychologists will even say that when we have these moments that it's a good
mhm,
idea to take them day by day. And so
Mhm.
if you're going and going and going and going, you don't have an opportunity
Mhm.
to take anything day by day because
Right.
it's all coming at you. So now that you are being still, are you taking it day by day? And if you are, how are you going about that?
It's yeah, then you literally have to because it's like, I guess when you work or when you like or when you're a parent, there's always something to do. Whether you got to go to work and then like you and I are both moms and stuff like that and we have daughters. And with our kids, with our daughters especially, there's cheerleading, there's recitals, there's something going on at school, there's something they want to do with their friends. So you have to plan. You have to plan on top of what you have to do on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? And that includes going to work. Now, in this particular instance, it is like literally day by day for me because it's like, well, when I think about what I got to do for next week, it ain't nothing. You know, when I got to think about what I do tomorrow, it ain't nothing. The next time I don't have anything really planned, oh, that's my son. See you later, baby. He doesn't know where you are. I mean, the next time I don't anticipate doing something is probably maybe New Year's Eve. But outside of that, nothing really major until I go out to the doctors again. So
Mhm.
now, so now it's less planning to the degree that I have nothing else going on, but it's still planning because okay, I still have to find a way to get out the house
Mhm.
with
Yeah,
a bum leg
yeah.
and get down the steps and get to the car and get to where I gotta go. So now it's just really just day by day that I just take it by, in all honesty.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think that that's a good way to go about it. I mean, I definitely try to do that with myself when I have different moments where I just am like overwhelmed. When I was younger
Mhm.
and dealing
Mhm.
with self-esteem issues and really
Mhm.
wanting to just be accepted, I would definitely
Mhm.
allow myself to get overwhelmed, and I would think about the future, and I would always like we talked about ruminating,
Mhm.
I would always
Mhm.
go through all these scenarios
Mhm.
based on
Yep.
something negative. And it wasn't that I was a negative person, it's just that sometimes I would have a lot of negative energy put towards me. The kinder I
Mhm.
was, the sometimes the more difficult situations would present themselves, and uh,
Exactly.
and so
Exactly.
then, I'd get caught off guard by like thinking, oh, I'm doing something nice. And then, there'd be some bully or something would happen, like really like
Mhm.
bad stuff. Like, and so in those moments, I find that I started stopping myself and I would
Mhm.
just get so
Mhm.
overwhelmed and I'd want to make connections with people, but then I was so concerned about like, well, what's going to happen in the future? But I will say as
Mhm.
I've
Yes.
gotten
Yes.
older, I've gotten much better at just following that technique of taking things day
Mhm.
by day. I mean, because the reality is that I wouldn't be talking with you right now if I wasn't there because, I remember going up to you, "Hi, my name's Tanya." Like, so,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and in
And I
my
bet
head, I'm
you if
like,
you
"What
thought
it," and
about
I'm
it.
like, in my and briefly, I did think, "What if she's like, who is this woman? What does she want?"
Mhm.
Like, so yes, I will say I
Yeah.
occasionally still get in the what if place, but
Mhm.
trying to do
Always,
things day
yes.
by day, it definitely helps
Mhm.
me a lot.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And it's really interesting that you say that because it's like we both have the same issues. Because I remember telling you about my self-esteem issues. And I think when you're a person who has like self-esteem issues, your mind is always flooded with the negative or the what
Mhm.
ifs or
Mhm.
those scenarios that never really come to fruition because you didn't thought about it to the point of it really bogging you down. And it's just like you said, I think as I started changing how the way I felt about myself, um, those flights of ideas started like diminishing because you start realizing that you no longer care about what people think of you anymore. Your focus now is more so on yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, um, I'm the same way, I probably wouldn't have approached you because, I think, yeah, I don't even I think that, it is a little bit of a like, "Well, what if this person's, like, gonna I think I'm crazy or something like that. But I think it's just the fact that you probably can just sense from someone, like you can just look at someone and say, you know what, I think a good job with that person. I'm not going to approach everybody like that, but I'm going
Yeah.
to approach certain people like that because maybe their vibe from them gives me, they seem like a cool person. So I think I could probably like, do a little, small talk with them and then kind of go from there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think as you get older, you start worrying about what people think, and that's why, maybe the thoughts don't intrude your head anymore.
Mhm.
I think that's what it is. I know that's how it is for me, you know, because sometimes you get so consumed with what people think about you and how you look. You just it just really just weighs on you, weighs on your psyche, your how you feel about yourself and stuff like that. You know, and when you finally reach a point where you get to a certain age and it's like, I don't really care anymore. So it's like I don't have this lost smile on
It's
me
like the
anymore.
switch
So
comes on.
the switch comes on and it's like, you're just like, well, they could just take me for wherever I am. And if they don't like me, they don't like me. So I don't, that's why I think we're both in that same place now where we're just like, this is it. This is what you get.
You know,
Ain't nothing
I
else.
think
If you don't like it.
I think you hit it on the head. You know, I feel like we all can agree that oh-ish moments are imminent. So I'm wondering,
Hmm.
how have you prepared for them in the past? Or do you prepare for them? Or, does it just seem like to happen? I mean, obviously some things
Um,
just happen, but you can still try to
right.
prepare.
I think that, I think, mm, I don't know. I think for me as a nurse, I think it's easier to do it when I'm at work as a nurse. Because, you know, you kind of go in the way working in a hospital and working on the floor is like you never know what's going to happen. So you always kind of prepare yourself when you step into work. You always prepare for those moments where somebody could code or somebody could fall or something bad could happen to a patient, so a patient could die. You know what I'm saying? Um, I try to prepare myself like that outside of work as best I can. It's a little bit more harder, but I really try to translate what I do at work to outside of work. Um, like like I just mentally prepare myself. Just kind of just always not be on guard so much, but just kind of just prepare that life is what it is.
Mhm.
Life be life, and you can't.
Yes.
You just have to just kind of prepare for it. It just is what it is. No matter how good, bad, whatever it is, you just kind of just find a way to just mentally kind of just prepare for it. So, now I just translate once I step out the door out of work, I just take the same attitude in life now also, you know? And so
That's good.
I
That's good.
think
And I mean,
that's yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, the reality is that a lot of these moments are going to be unexpected, but we can always still have different go-to strategies to help us. I think for me, what I try to do is not let the ish pile up so that I don't get an
Right,
opportunity to
exactly.
be overwhelmed. Because I mean, to
Mhm.
me, to use like an extended metaphor of that, when it starts piling up, it stinks. And so,
Right,
who, you don't
exactly. Yeah.
smell that.
Mhm.
So, and then
Yeah,
other
yeah,
people start
exactly.
smelling it and don't want to be around
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And I think
Right,
sometimes when we
exactly.
have those people in our lives, and this is not to talk bad about them, we all have those moments where we're just maybe not in a good space. But those people who seem to dump a lot, and you're like, I just
Mm.
can't do it today. Not today. So
Yes,
I don't want to
yes.
be that
Mhm.
person who's dumping a lot on
Right,
people. And so I'm trying to clean it up
exactly.
myself, and so in trying to clean it
Yes.
up myself, the
Yes.
gym is one of my ways.
Yes,
So
yes. Mhm.
yeah, the gym,
Yeah,
writing, doing this
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, like, whatever, like, it's just so weird that you would say that, like, I'm the same way, like, I'm definitely about not trying to dump my problems on people, so when you talk about ish piling up, I try and prioritize, like, it's the same way at work, like, in order to keep from the ish from getting to you, you have to prioritize, you have to prioritize your day with your patients and the care that they get, and then, like, what's important for this patient and important for this patient, and that's how you prioritize your 12 hours. You have to plan ahead,
Mhm,
literally. And it's like the same thing, like you just said, in life. Like, in order for the issue not to pile up, you find stuff that'll keep you on an even keel. Like you said, the gym. For you is the
mhm,
podcast. For me is baking. For me
mhm,
is baking. Baking is like my way of keeping the ish from not piling up because it relaxes me. It's something I enjoy. It's something that I'm good at that sort of takes place for the things where, it's kind of troubling me right now. Bacon will put me right back in that spot again. Do you understand what I'm
mhm,
saying? So, and a lot of times, and it's like you said, you don't want to be that person that dumps a lot on people. So for me, like, you find something that will sort of like, put in perspective, or maybe you just don't think about it at the time period to give you like an hour or 2 hours to where you don't have to make it a priority in your head, you know? So definitely, I definitely feel you in that regard because you know, I think that you and I both have been a part of, like, have had to deal with people. And I've just had this happen to me where there are people you know, that just want to dump on you. They just
mhm,
want to dump their problems on
mhm,
you. And it's just like, and I just had to be like, I don't have it right now. I just don't, I'm doing with my leg. I'm laid up. I have nothing to give you right now. And I had to literally shut it down. I was like, I don't have it, you
mm,
know? I think we both have personalities where people like to vent, and I think we both are the type of people that really want to try and help people as much as possible. But at the same time, we're very much about like energy. We don't want the negative energy to affect our mood, or
yes,
or or how we interact with the rest of the people around us. You know what I'm saying? We like to keep things upbeat and happy, you know, and we don't want that type of negative energy around us. You know what I
mhm.
mean?
You're
So
absolutely right, and it's funny
yep.
because for me, when you told me about your injury, just in talking to you, I still felt like, wow, she still has this positive energy about her. And it may be, as you mentioned, sometimes you may have days where maybe you're not in that good space, and then there's days when you are. But I think that sometimes there's people who they don't, it may sound weird to say, but they don't like it when you're in a good space or when you're
Mm-hmm.
handling
Yes.
that oh-ish moment better than they would. I remember when I
Yes.
broke my wrist and it was my right hand. I'm right-handed. And
Mm-hmm.
so many people, on one hand, they were coming up to me, and this is at work, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible. How are you going to teach?" I'm like, "I don't need to write to teach. They have computers." Or someone's like, "Oh, that's horrible. That's the hand." And so on one hand, I felt like they were just genuinely they cared. But on the other hand, when I was not leaning into the negative conversation, and I said, "Well, it could have been more serious." I told a few people, I said, I had braids, and I made the decision not to wear my helmet. I could have hit my head. I
Yep.
could be in a coma. Anything could have happened. So I said, I will take a
Yep.
fractured wrist. And then I actually started
Most
making these special sleeves to wear because I had an actual hard cast. And so I started making these special sleeves. And I remember a few people said, where did you get these from? I didn't know they had cast sleeves. And I'm like, oh, I make them. And they're like, how are you making them with a broken wrist? I'm like, hey, I'm crafty. and so but no, I mean, I try to find ways to say, all right, yes, this happened to me at a vulnerable moment. I was concerned because, like I said, she was just about to turn 1 years old. So even in her birthday party pictures, I made this special sequence, like
Oh, that's so
a sleeve.
cute.
And so
That's
I'm
so
wearing this
cute.
sleeve and I put like ruffles around
Yeah.
it and all this stuff. And so, but I was like, how am I going? I'm like, we gonna make this work. I said, my arm gonna be stronger.
You know what I mean? We gonna make it work. It's so weird. It's so weird when you talk about the sleeve because the last time I went to the doctor gave me the boot to wear on my leg. And I was like, and I did tell my daughter, I was like, you gotta find some way to bedazzle my boot for me,
Bedazzle, yes.
So yeah,
Make it
bedazzle it. And
fun.
I'm going online, I'm going on Pinterest. I'm seeing like Kim Kardashian with the same type of boot on and she bedazzled it. She had a little heel attached to it. I'm seeing jewels and bows and all kinds of like artwork. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing. Like if I'm gonna be in this state for a little while, I'm gonna rock it. You like
Yes.
like yeah, I'm gonna rock it. Like I'm gonna find some way to rock it. Like,
Hmm.
you know, like
And I
I'm
feel
still
like
trying to make it look cute.
yeah. And I'm not sure if this is the case for you, but I feel like it certainly helps with mindset. And then also I find
Mm-hmm.
that it helps that pool of negativity, if there's one that's coming my way, I feel like it helps to repel it. And so then the conversation isn't, oh, poor you, you broke your, fill in the blank. It's, oh, wow, look what you did. And so it
Right,
shifts the
exactly. Yeah.
conversation and we don't have to have this negative talk. It's, because
Right.
I feel like, perhaps not everyone thinks this way, but I feel like when you put that positive energy out there, it helps with part of the healing process because
You just read
then
my
you're
mind,
not
Tanya, and
in
yeah,
that. Yeah.
you read my mind. Yes, definitely. And that's how I feel. And that's how I feel right now. To try to bring in as much positive energy I can because yeah, like, I think I remember when I was talking to you that day, like, yeah, the day before was a rough day. And, I really make a concerted effort that being positive is part of healing. How you mentally are is going to affect how you're going to heal, whatever the situation is. And then, like, because maybe right now I can't, like, physically do anything. Like, I can't, like, well, I could probably, you know, um, just maneuver my ankle around and roll it around and things like that and bend my knee and stuff like that. But the real work's going to come, when the doctor says, okay, well, you can start working with physical therapy. And that's going to be another added part to it because that's also going to be tough. So it's also going to affect me mentally. So it's really important that not only that I try and be positive, but that everybody else try to be as positive around me as possible. And,
Hmm.
because like, it just affects your ability to get up just to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're just surrounded by all that negative energy, like, it feels like an added weight,
Yes, it's like a
and
dark cloud, not
mhm,
just a dark cloud, but a
mhm.
dark rain cloud.
Yeah, it's a dark
And you
rain
don't have
cloud, a storm
you
is
don't
coming.
have an
Yes.
umbrella.
And I don't have an umbrella, right? And then it's just like I said, and it's like it's so weird. Like I had a friend like that, and I guess because she was venting to me because of the fact that because of physically how the way I was at the time period, and maybe what I was expressing to her, but I think she took it as a moment where she was going through some stuff, and then she just started just saying more and more and more and more, and I'm like, oh my god, like, and I finally had to, and I finally say, I can't do it right now. Maybe old stuff could have done this, but this kind of stuff you can't do it right now because
So
my
so
mind is in a different spot.
so I'm wondering because you brought up your friend, you know, do you think when you have oh-ish moments that are involving others, where it's not you directly, perhaps it's something that you did or said and you can't take it back because it's
Mhm,
out there, and or maybe your
mhm.
intentions or actions were misconstrued, or you kind of wish you could take back what you said or did. Does that type of moment impact you the same as when it's your own personal oh-ish moment, or does it impact you differently?
I think that when it involves another person, I think it affects me more,
Mm,
because I'm the type of person where I try to be as sympathetic, as empathetic as I possibly can be. So I never want to come off to be a hurtful person. And so those moments where you think about, dang, I shouldn't have said that. Like it weighs on me more. It really does. Like because I just never want to be the person to be the cause of anyone's pain. And to me, that will weigh on me more than whatever of those moments I have for myself. You know. Um. So, and I'm also the type of person that I never know what to say or what to do to try and rectify it.
yeah.
And that's another thing, because you're just replaying over in your mind, and then on top of that, you're trying to figure out what you can say to try and be like, but you can say, "I'm sorry," or "How do you say I'm sorry?" Or what can you say to that person to try and be like, "Yeah, I screwed up." So, yeah, I really try as much as possible not to be in that position, because I just don't like feeling like causing anyone any pain.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely right there with you, and I would agree that it hits me in a different way, probably, more than when it's my own moment, and especially with those who I care about. I mean,
Mhm,
one instance that's coming to mind that happened a few years ago, and Quinn's been playing the violin since she's in 4th grade, and she
mhm,
is in 7th grade now, and she's doing really well with it and has been sticking it out, doing orchestra and all that. But this was when she was in
mhm,
5th grade, and and I tried to loosen the reins some because I always say, if it's something that you're interested in and it's something that you wanna do, I want you to do it without me having to hover and be on top of you about it. And I will say she's really good with these different things, but it was just this one time in particular where I had told her and I said, "I noticed that you haven't been practicing the violin." And she says, "Oh,
mhm,
yeah, I'm gonna practice it this morning." And I said, "Before school?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so, of course, 5th grade, she's getting at that age where she's not at tween age yet, but still she's,
mhm,
trying to get her little outfit. She's doing all these things in the morning, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, "She's not gonna have time to practice." And I didn't say
mhm,
anything
mhm,
until we were
mhm,
getting ready to go. And so I
mhm,
said, "Did you practice? You didn't allow enough time to practice." And while I mean,
mhm,
I will say I've never raised my voice at her, but she can sense the sternness in my voice. So even in
mhm,
sensing that sternness, and
mhm,
all I said to her is I said, "I expect you to uphold your responsibilities. If you say you're going to do something,
mhm,
I need you to follow through." And in that moment,
mhm,
she just burst out in tears, and I'm like,
mhm,
"Oh my gosh, why did I do this to her right before she's about to go to school?" And so we're walking because at the time, the school where she went to, it's walking distance. And I
mhm,
asked her, I said, "Tell me why you're crying." And she says, "Because I'm not perfect like you." And it just broke my heart. And I'm like, "I'm not perfect." And she says, "Well, you do everything right." And she's crying. And I said, that was not the point. I said, "The point I was trying to make to you is that I asked you, 'Do you want to play violin?' You said yes. Part of playing violin is practicing, and you told me you're going to
mhm,
practice and you didn't." But then in looking back on that moment, I
mhm,
felt like I didn't use the right timing. So in not
mhm,
using the right timing, I picked a time when she's right about to go to school.
Mhm,
So then I felt like this is going to set the tone for the rest of the day for her. And so I was in my head about it. I'm talking to like anyone who will listen about it. I'm like, I can't
mhm,
believe I got her all upset. And now and that was the
mhm,
first time she ever said to me that I'm not perfect like you. It felt like one of those after school
mhm.
specials. Like when you're like, "I learned it from
Yeah.
watching you." And I'm like, I'm
Yes.
telling her, "I'm not perfect." And people are saying she probably sees you do all these things. And so in
Mhm,
that moment, I'm like, "Well," I apologized to her and I said, "I want you to have a good day." And the crazy part was that I was in my feelings all day about it. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
mhm.
Like cuz she doesn't ever really cry like that. This was the first time she's ever like really like cried and I'm like, "Oh my." I mean, not
Yeah,
as a baby obviously, but I'm talking about,
yeah.
as a child developing. And I don't even know if she remembers
Mhm.
that now. She probably but I mean, it may have
She
stayed
probably
with her
doesn't,
and
she probably
but
doesn't,
no,
yeah.
I mean, like, I pick her up from school and it's like nothing happened, but the whole time I'm just
Mhm,
like, I think she just got my intention wasn't to make her cry before school and all these
yeah,
things, and I just was so upset,
yeah.
with myself about it because I'm just like,
Mhm,
so I will say one of my techniques, even in, learning from that in that oh-ish moment with her, is that and I forget I know I heard this somewhere, but I can't recall where, and I'm paraphrasing, but it basically is like, this acronym where before you say something to someone, to think about if what your not only what your intentions are, but if it's necessary in that moment. Like, so for example, sometimes she does not iron her clothes. And she's okay with them being a little wrinkled. And she's like,
mhm.
"Mommy, kids don't care that their clothes are a little wrinkled." And I'm like, "Really?"
Nope, mm,
And so that's something that I'm like, "All right, if we're leaving out the door and it's only 10 minutes and I see that her shirt's a little wrinkled, why am I going to bother? Because there's not enough time for her to do anything about it. If there's something she can do something about it." But I'm like, why plant that seed so for her the rest of the day if she then becomes self-conscious because I've told her that something is off?
mhm,
And so
mhm.
I've been
Yes.
trying to and not just I mean with her specifically because I mean she's my only child and I want to
Mm,
make sure that I don't I mean I'm going to have those moments and I'm sure as she's not quite a teen yet but she will be in about a half year, a little under a half year. So
mhm.
I know there's some more oh-ish moments coming with her.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
my
I trust and
my
believe. You
yes.
will you have several thousand more moments, oh-ish, oh damn, oh whatever moments when you have to deal with a teen girl. Trust and
Yes.
believe.
Yeah.
You will
Yes.
have those
Yes.
moments, because girls are different. Girls are different. Girls take everything out of proportion. Girls will cry about everything. Girls will think that everything that you're saying is wrong, like despite the fact that I was a teen girl my own self, and despite the fact you may consider it like ancient years when I was a teenager, you still go through the same issues. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, when it comes to like my daughter, like when it comes to Sanaya, yeah, there's those moments where I've definitely said things and I'm like, oh my God, and been regretful about it. Cause I think for me, most of the time it's like you said out of frustration and she pushed my buttons and then I just yell. And then she'll get upset, she'll start crying, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, only said for your benefit. Like, maybe I shouldn't have said it the way I said it, and maybe it wasn't the right time to say it. But I think what I say is I'm just trying to like benefit you.
Mhm.
So, you know, you don't make the same mistakes. You know what I'm saying? I think when it comes to our daughters, is like, it's just simply about you don't want your daughter to have the same difficulties that you had when you
Yeah.
were their age.
Mhm.
you know
Mhm.
or you just want them to be better than you. I always tell my daughter, I want you to be better than me, better than what I was. you know so for as much as you say that, yeah, she looks at you perfect, but you probably want her to be 200% perfect, because you still want her to do things differently than how the way you did it, because
Mhm.
you had to get to where you're at right now. You know what I'm saying? And I had to get to where I'm at right now. And at one point, we both did not feel perfect. Perfect is like, and we probably still don't feel perfect.
No,
You know what I'm
not at
saying?
all.
We just hide it very well. But along the way of just trying to get to our form of perfection, there was lessons that had to be learned in the process that you don't want your daughter to have to go through their own selves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
that's an important thing that I try to convey to my daughter more so than my son.
Mhm.
Because boys are easier, but when it comes to a girl, it's literally like fighting with yourself. It's literally like fighting with a mini version of yourself. So
Mm.
hate to say it, like it's around the corner.
And, and I know I know that I can try my best to be prepared, but there's gonna be some stuff that I may not be so prepared for, but it makes me think
hmm
about the significance of the purpose of these "oh-ish" moments, and, do you believe that they have a purpose?
I do. Like I believe every ish moment is just a chance to learn something. I always look at any experience I've had in life, however good or bad, is an opportunity to learn and grow from it.
Mhm,
That's it. You just find ways to like, okay, well this happened to me, or and you just find perspective. I think that's what it's about. You try to find some form of perspective about it so that you somehow able to learn and move on from it. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Like there
mm,
has to be a point where you have to kind of move on to it. I think I can sit up here and beat myself up about what happened to me last month, and I can continually think about what I could have done differently. But at the end of the day, that's not conducive. Like it
mhm.
just is what it is. It just kind of just you learn from it. You realize there's something that happened to you, and you just kind of move on from it. That's it. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I'm like you now. I have pins and a plate. So we're both bionic women now officially. That's it. We're both bionic women.
So putting, those moments aside for a fun last question, if you were a dog, what breed would you be and why?
Oh, wow, this is so easy for me. A Pomeranian. I love
Oh.
Pomeranians. Like, I would be a Pomeranian because they are foo-foo, perfect, like, high maintenance dogs. Like, every time I see a Pomeranian, I always see them the fur be so immaculately done, and then they have those little, they have the little BBLs made out of fur, and they always have like jewels on them. They got cute little clothes, like, and they're just so cute and petite, and they're just high maintenance dogs that they just kind of just they just thrive on attention. They just want somebody to give them some attention, and they're like, they just want to just sit underneath their owners, and that's it. And the only thing they want is just a little bit of attention. That was
Mhm.
straight be me. Like I would be this high maintenance Pomeranian with a Chanel like dog collar and just chilling on my owner's lap, having them pet me and tell me how cute I am.
Yes. Okay, so the tricky
I
one,
just
I
love
guess,
them.
is what dog breed do you think I would be and why?
Oh wow. Oh goodness. I think of golden retrievers. I think of golden
Wow.
retrievers because golden retrievers are I love golden retrievers. I love them because I love the fact how loyal they are. They're just so their loyalty and they're dependable. I just love the fact that they're just so loyal. Like because you're such a loyal person, and they're
Thank you.
friendly. They're super friendly. You're very friendly, and they're just happy, and they're just, you know, palms like a palm will go on. You know what I'm saying? Like they have their moments where they can be like little bitches. I've never seen an angry golden retriever. Like they're just so easy to get along with. They're friendly. They're reliable, dependable, and all the things that you are. So I could
Oh,
definitely see
thank
you as
you.
a golden retriever, definitely. And they're like my other
Awesome.
favorite dog too.
Yeah, I'll take it. That you know what? We've got a streak going here because so far almost every guest has said a golden retriever. So,
Really?
yes. Quinn said a golden retriever. My friend Kia said a golden retriever. And my friend Michelle, she said I was a mix and have some golden retriever in there. So yeah.
Yeah, I can see a mix. Maybe a little bit of a poodle mix, like a little poodle mix. But
Yes.
I see you as all golden retriever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. I think because it just radiates in your personality. I think it just does.
Thank you.
I don't think I've seen some killer dogs. You know what I'm saying? I've seen dogs get angry. I've never seen you get angry. I've never seen you not smile. I've never seen you not use a curse word except just right now within this last hour. But you're just so even keeled. Like it's just that's even when I remember when I think when we were talking about this, I was like, oh, that's easy. A golden retriever, definitely. You know.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks again, Stephanie, for being my guest today. And I truly
Well,
enjoyed our
thank you.
conversation. And I feel like I
I
learned
did
a great
too.
deal. So,
I learned
you know,
even I said me too. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, I learned a great too. Like, thank you so much. It was a great conversation.
Awesome, awesome. And to you, the listener, if there's mess all around us, how do you handle it? And do you avoid it? And how do you handle those ish moments in life? Let me know.
Mhm.
Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube at Tricks My Dog Taught Me. Also, I hope that you'll share this podcast with your friends and family. So until next time, in the words of American singer, songwriter, and novelist Kinky Friedman, money can buy you a fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail. Take care, and I'll see you next time.